Hello dear listener, it is time for the VR Shiz show once again. We went long and that means once again my computer got angry. Vince's audio and only ever Vince's audio became garbled at the end, but the audio is good till then. One day I will figure out why my computer hates Vince. I did some editing to fix it, so enjoy the newest VR Shiz show.
Alright, now that my throat is cleared, welcome to the one and only VR Shiz show.
Let me clear my throat. I am V. I'm sorry, you said your throat was cleared and I didn't want to interrupt you. I was gonna interrupt you and I decided not to.
I'm not sure me handing everything off to you is all that much better for that.
Okay, so you guys couldn't see, but just the sheer disappointment that I could see on Richard's face. I think you were almost as disappointed as when I made that joke for Andromeda.
Almost, but I don't have to end the podcast now.
Yeah, no, you don't.
We can keep going.
It won't go any farther downhill. It can't, I don't think.
You're right.
Okay.
We can only go uphill.
Okay, so we're starting with media consumed, right?
Yes, we're going to blaze right past that introduction right into the actual show, because...
Yeah, we don't have to acknowledge it. What introduction?
Anyway, so yeah, it is time for media consumed. You said you knew what you wanted to talk about.
Yes. So my brother and I think I've told you this, but I don't think the viewers know. So my brother and I, or the listeners, whatever.
Partakers.
Unwilling participants.
Yeah. That's what you guys are now. From this point on, you are the partakers or the unwilling participants.
Yes. It sounds cultic, and I like that. But so my brother and I watch thriller movies, horror movies together a lot. Mm-hmm. I think we've watched well over 50 or 60 at this point together since we started doing it pretty consistently. I think one weekend we watched like 5 movies together, which horror just kind of gets burned out. But so we watched Run, which is a thriller. It is about a girl who has like a lot of like chronic illnesses that basically keep her in a...
Oh, I saw the trailer for this.
Yeah, it's on Hulu for free now because it was supposed to come out in theaters and it wasn't able to because of the cough. And then Hulu was just like, cool, we'll buy the rights and put it on there. And it just came out last week.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for this and it looked intense.
It was fun.
Okay.
It was definitely... It's definitely over the top, and there is some really heavy suspension of disbelief. Mm-hmm. But the acting is pretty great, all things considered. It's very much a... What is that one condition where it's... It was a real-life thing that actually happened with someone where basically one member of the family or just someone diagnoses someone with something else, and they give them things to make it seem like they have those illnesses. I can't remember the official name of it, but it's a real thing that happened.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know there was a name for it.
There is. I just cannot remember the name of it. I do remember the people who... What's it called? Let's see here.
We're doing some hard-hitting research right now. As we speak, we have the away team doing research on this very hard-hitting topic. And by away team, I mean Vince has literally just pulled out his phone.
Yeah, look, it's going to bother me the entire show, and it's better that we do it now as opposed to doing it later. Because then...
Just 20 minutes into the show. Ah, yes, this!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Any luck?
I'm really close. I'm really, really close. Because I'm just trying to remember what the actual name of the... This one based on a true story? No.
Are you just typing in Run?
There we go. Okay. Munchausen syndrome.
Yeah.
Munchausen syndrome. It's the Munchausen syndrome by proxy. So it was inspired by a case that I was trying to figure out what her name was, but it's Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Dee Dee Blanchard. If you don't know any about that, was the mom who basically said her daughter had all of these illnesses, and her daughter didn't, and she knew she didn't, but she had manipulated and broke her to that point where the daughter couldn't do anything, and she ended up meeting with a guy online on a Christian dating website, and she told him the only way that we could be together is if you kill my mom. And so he went to her house, and she hid in the closet while that dude stabbed her mom to death. It's
I didn't know that part of it.
Yeah. Her mom died. Not like it's pretty sad. It's similar to that, you know, the mom doesn't die, but still very much over the top like that. It was somewhat uncomfortable to watch in certain instances. It was genuinely fun. I enjoyed it. It's dumb fun though.
It's a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time. It's not something that you're gonna watch and like dissect like Inception and be like, is this a good or a bad movie? It's not a great movie, but it was fun to watch.
It's a shallow film.
It's a shallow film, but it's one that you can kind of dip your feet into and just be satisfied that you watched it. And we're just like, cool, I'm never watching that again, but it was fun while it lasted.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I saw the trailers for it, and it looked so bizarre that I'm like, I know that this is... I don't know if this is based on the real-life event that happened, or if it was da-da-da-da-da, and so on and so forth, but yeah. I might end up watching it. Probably not, though, because I just don't really watch things as much as I intend to. Like, I have a giant list in my Hulu and Netflix of just, like, watch these at some point.
Oh yeah, update and continuation from either the first or second episode. We still haven't touched any episodes of Cowboy Bebop since we said we were going to, because we
did we talk about that in the podcast?
We did.
Okay, I don't remember.
I think it's either episode 1, 2, or 3 where we said we were going to watch it and we were going to update.
We're on like episode 7.
Yes,
that's
but
like
how long has it been?
A third of the way through the show.
How long has it been since we've touched it?
We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Vince.
All right, what's your media consumed?
For me, I have been... Oh, gosh.
Oh, looks like it's back.
Yep. I have the corona.
Should clear your throat.
Yeah, I think the burger we just ate is just, like, attacking me at this point.
I felt like that earlier. I thought it was just me when I was eating it, but I'm like,
No, they poisoned our burger. They knew we were doing a podcast afterwards.
It's just like the video we just watched. They put anthrax in it. Government mandated anthrax, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Will that get us pinged? I feel like that'll get us pinged.
Who cares?
Whatever.
Well, say we were talking about the band Anthrax, not the chemical.
Okay, fair.
Because I'm sure you can talk about the band unless they got kicked off YouTube and some other reason or something.
Fair.
But anyway, I was... What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, media. My brain is just, like, gone at the moment, dude. But for media consumed, I have consumed a lot of King Gizzard.
Okay.
Because King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, one of my all-time favorite bands, if they are absolutely my all-time favorite band, they released 2 new albums.
Wait, 2?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Technically, one of them is a live album, so it's, you know...
Oh, okay.
Not as much songwriting, but I wouldn't put it past them to release 2 albums in a day.
You did say that they're very intense when it comes to, like, their actual release stuff. Like, they're...
2018 was the only year they didn't release an album since they've been a band.
Okay.
Although, technically, 2011, when they released that, they call it an EP. But... Other than that, because their numbering is weird, because as you can see behind me on my Infest the Rat's Nest, which was their 15th or 16th album, depending on how you count, they label it as their 15th, because they don't include that first EP as an album, but that first EP feels more like an album than it does an EP, in my opinion, because for me, an EP tends to be anything less than 20 minutes. Like 20 minutes is like the long end of an EP. Otherwise, it's just kind of a short album. And Willoughby's Beach, that EP/album, is 22 minutes, as I have just pulled up. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. But besides the point, going on tangents upon tangents, They did release a new live album, which is Live in San Francisco 16, which...
Like 2016?
Yes.
Okay.
No, Vince. The year 16. 2,000 years ago.
The 16th year of our Lord, yes.
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 Anno Domini. But, no, they did that live in San Fran, and this was their first... it's a show that we recorded that we mixed up and threw out as a release, because their other album before this was live. It was called Chunky Shrapnel, and that was
interesting.
It was a live album, but there was a lot of production in it that is different than any other live album ever. It went alongside a documentary they released about the band and touring in 2019 and stuff like that. But as a whole, Live in 16 is literally just a live album standard of just about any other artist. But the other album they released, which is super, super interesting, is KG.
KG, okay.
Yes. As in King Gizzard.
King Gizzard, yeah.
I would assume, however, for all intents and purposes, they may have just gone and said, it stands for Carl Gibson or something. I don't know.
I like how Carl spelled with a K there. I think that is the superior Carl, personally.
Yeah.
The one with a K.
Marx.
Yeah. All right, cool. I get one bad one, you get one bad one. That's cool.
All right.
That's fair.
But
sure.
Yeah, so KG released, and it is it's a very personal album, it comes across as, because many of their other albums are either very vague, very airy, or as we'll talk about, because I decided for topic for today is I'm going to talk about my favorite band and your favorite band.
Okay.
Because, fun stuff. Teasing the topic that's going to happen in like 5 minutes or whatever. But yeah, KG is super interesting. It's very personal. There's a lot of lyrics on there that are very much like, they can obviously go beyond what it seems like they're singing about, but it very much comes across as this was 2019 for us, as well as kind of the past years as a band.
Okay.
And there's a lot in there that you can look at lyrically that kind of points to that. But it's also their second microtonal album, because the band likes to make weird music. They did an album in 2017 called Flying Microtonal Banana, which was experiments with microtonal tunings and playstyles, which is often found in like Eastern music, like Turkish, Middle Eastern kind of stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Because Western music, we tend to have pretty predefined tones and notes. So you got like A, B, C, and so on.
Yeah.
Whereas microtones is the notes in between notes, is basically what it is. It's like looking at a microtonal guitar is nuts because, there's a lot of frets on a regular guitar, and then microtonal frets here. I'm going to pull up an image, and then Vince's reaction is just going to be what you people are going to interpret as the correct response. Not shopping. I don't want shopping. I want images. Come on. So that's just a small section of the fretboard right there.
You know what it reminds me of? You've seen the inner workings of a music box, right?
Yes.
Like the wheel?
Yes.
With the little bumps? That's kind of what that looks like. That's actually pretty cool.
Yes, but it's basically just add a crap load more frets and space them all out differently for each string. Very bizarre, but the album is named Flying...
Look at that Hello Kitty guitar.
Huh?
You see that Hello Kitty guitar?
Yeah, I did.
Here.
Oh, perfect. Here's King Gizzard.
I was like, isn't that King Giz? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It is. So that's why it's called Flying Microtonal Banana, because there is one of the most famous guitars of all time is the Gibson, I think it's Gibson, Flying V, and it's literally a V-shaped body of a guitar. The microtonal banana, the Flying Microtonal Banana, is a guitar that is shaped like a banana. You can see the little peels there with the stem that comes out there.
Ah, okay, I do see it.
Yes. But that is why it is called that. But anyway, the album deals with that, and so it's Volume 2 was Flying Microtonal Banana. Or Volume 1 was that. Volume 2 is KG. And it definitely feels like they've come to a greater understanding with microtonal and how to play with it and everything in this album as volume 2. Mm-hmm. And so it's super, super fascinating. And it also goes a lot more all over the place. Most of their albums tend to be pretty cohesive. They have their thrash album where the entire album, a little bit different styles of metal, but goes, for the most part, in a similar space. There are 2 other exceptions, I would say. Gumboot Soup, which was literally just tossing out all of the ideas and mashing them into one album. And then Oddments, which is apparently a candy in Australia that they named for a bunch of ideas they had at a time and just wanted to throw them into one album. Okay. Even then, that album still feels pretty cohesive. But KG, it is definitely all microtonal, but each song is very different. Like, it starts off with microtonal metal, which they didn't really do on volume 1.
Uh-huh.
And then it goes into more softer bits, and then it goes into acoustic, and then it goes into weird and trippy stuff, and then it goes into Turkish house music. Okay. Which is my favorite song on the album. Okay. Which I did not expect. And then it goes back into just a pure acoustic song, and then it goes and finishes off with metal. But as a whole, the album is incredibly fantastic, and I would have to say that I definitely would recommend it.
Yeah.
Give it a listen. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. I'm sure most of you can figure that out, considering, hey, that's what you're listening to this on. But yeah, it was very interesting. Hopefully it's coming soon, because it's supposed to ship out in December. I bought the vinyl for it. I've been buying a lot of vinyl, I mentioned.
Yes.
Now that I got another job, that I'm like, yes, I can buy vinyl again.
You did discuss it earlier.
Yeah, I bought Slater-Kinney album, because I love Slater-Kinney. Riot Girl is a great genre with a garbage name. It's basically just grunge, but with a female vocalist.
With the female?
Yes. But I mean, I understand that because women, have a different vocal. Women have a different vocal style than men do, so I would argue that it does warrant a different genre name.
Fair.
But yeah, I got Slater-Kinney. I got the Cowboy Bebop vinyl.
I did see that.
Looks killer. I got a special edition. All of this is from Newbury. And then I got another King Gizz album, which I didn't have yet, Paper Mache Dream Balloon, which is their all-acoustic album. Mm-hmm. My favorite thing is that they came and said, yeah, we got tired of doing concept albums, so we made this. And I'm like, the concept is that you're going all-acoustic with it. What are you talking about? You got tired of making concept
albums, yeah.
I'm like, all you do is make concept albums, even when you're not even trying. I'm like, whatever. But I got that special edition. Then I got the Live in San Francisco. I got the special edition of that, which instead of having a red cover, is silver with rainbow iridescence. And then the KG vinyl is coming next month, even though the album released already. But yeah, good stuff, good stuff.
That's exciting.
Yeah, dude, I'm glad that I can buy vinyl again. It means that I don't have to worry about missing out on special editions.
Yeah, I remember how you were torn the last couple of times when we were talking about it.
Yeah, I'm still pissed that I missed Owl Boy.
Yeah.
Owl Boy was one that I'm pissed that I missed. Same thing with Cuphead. I think I mentioned that one. But yeah, so enough about records and stuff for like 2 seconds as we transition into our favorite band. I know you mentioned earlier that your favorite artist specifically was Sean James. Mm-hmm. But I want to know what your favorite band, because a band is very much different than a solo artist. In terms of how compositional style works, in terms of live shows even, because there's a different dynamic.
Yes.
Like, I've seen it with, I've seen a lot of 80s solo artists. Like, I saw Boy George. And him on his own is pretty good, but there's no, like, dynamic with him in the band kind of a deal. Whereas seeing something like King Gizz live, there's a full-on dynamic with the band members. They're joking around on stage, things like that seeing them live impacts, as well as songwriting structure, things like that just kind of impact it. So, as a whole, who is your favorite band?
That's actually a bit hard because I'm actually thinking about it. There are 3 bands that come to mind. 2 of them are relatively similar.
Okay.
And one of them is completely different, but they don't necessarily make their own music. They're basically just a cover band.
Hey man, cover bands aren't bad.
No, especially this one. But
especially Metalachi. I told you about them, right?
Yes. Yeah, you did.
Go listen to Metalachi. They do mariachi covers of metal. Anyway, back to your big 3 bands.
So the 2 that I would say that are probably the closest are The Score and Royal Deluxe. Possibly... See, that's the other thing, because I just started listening to Des Rocks too, and I really like them too. It's hard.
Oh, trust me, before I constantly cycle through my favorite band.
Yeah.
It tends to land pretty squarely after a little while, and then I'll settle on them for like a year or 2. It's I'm in that same boat, man, because before King Gizz, it was like, yeah, I really like The Offspring. They're probably number 1 for me, but it was always a probably. And I'm like, oh, but I like Agent Orange. Oh, but I like this band. I like this. I like da-da-da-da. So trust me, I know the struggle. Trust me, if I ever had to narrow it down to a favorite song, most people can't do it. I am about the only person I know who can definitively say what my favorite song is, which is Love Song by The Cure.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yes, because I mentioned that stupid 311 made the most garbage trash cover of it.
Yeah. And then I said mine was Claire de Lune.
Yes, but anyway, back to your favorite bands.
Okay, so the Score and Royal Deluxe are very much the bands that, like, when you listen to their music, it's like, this is what I'm going to use for some video game commercial or some like movie trailer kind of thing.
Something you need to get hype.
Yeah, you know, like how everyone and their mom uses Imagine Dragons music for like just trailers in general.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, so think like that.
But good and not Imagine Dragons.
So originally I struggled with it because I really like Imagine Dragons. I don't like all of their music.
Okay.
There are certain things that I really do enjoy from them, including a lot of the stuff that wasn't actually played on the radio to death.
Oh yeah, that's the problem, is that 8 times out of 10 a band's best song is not the one you hear on the radio, which is unfortunate. But you know, radio does what it's gonna do because they got to make it the most palatable for the most people, which sucks.
But The Score writes music that, again, very much what you would put in a trailer. I wouldn't say their music is filled with a lot of substance per se.
What do you mean?
Like, the music overall is good, you know. But I'm a lyrics guy. You know, you said overall music overall as opposed to lyrics is where you kind of weigh in more.
Yes, I tend to say that I'd rather hear the vocals than listen to them.
Yes. Okay. So that's the thing. For me, it's the opposite. I'm not going to listen to one of their songs and be like, just in deep reflection.
Yeah.
It's just something that I play to get hype or when I'm writing. Because weirdly enough, a lot of what I write in my head, those are the songs that I use in my head when I'm writing, which I think is one of the reasons why they're my favorites, because it's something that I can adapt so easily to the things that I write in my spare time.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for Royal Deluxe. They're very generic. They're not like a unique band like King Gizz is, because King Gizz is a very unique band.
Yeah.
They're very much like, oh, do you want to listen to music that sounds kind of like a more hyped version of, what's it called, of Imagine Dragons? This is what you listen to.
Yeah.
Now, with Royal Deluxe, they're very much more, I would say, was it like guitar riffs, drums? Like, they're a little bit heavier on those things than The Score is. But I like both of them. They're both very hype. I like listening to the music, especially when I'm writing or when I'm walking, so I can flesh ideas out. That kind of stuff helps me.
Yeah.
But the other band, the third band, is neither one of those things, because they're a cover band, and I think I've mentioned them to you a few times. Their name is Postmodern Jukebox.
Yes.
So Postmodern Jukebox is absolutely fantastic. The concept is they take a song and they completely change the genre of it, usually to something a little bit more old school. They did We Can't Stop by Miley Cyrus, which I don't like the original song, but they did a doo-wop version of that song, and it was really good.
Wait, doo-wop of...
Yes.
I remember that when that song came out, because that's when I at least still somewhat paid attention to what was happening on the top 40s.
Yeah.
Doo-wop.
I will show you later.
Doo-wop.
Yes, 100%. It's so good.
All right, I'm intrigued.
If I remember correctly, I think they did a bluegrass version of All About That Bass, where they actually used an upright bass to play, which is hilarious. They did a... What is it? Sweet Child of the Mind. They did it in like that... What's that other word? That's not Cajun, but it's Southern style.
I don't know.
It's like the bayou tones of the 60s.
Okay.
Down there. It's I can't. It's in my brain somewhere, and it won't come out during this podcast because I can't think.
Hick music?
It's not hick music. It's black people South, man.
Okay.
Like that. There's a specific word for it. And the reason I say black people is because that's where it comes from. It's not right. It's not.
Hey man, black people make the best music.
It's actually
where rock and roll came from.
It's 100% true.
It's where blues came from.
Yep.
It's where jazz came from.
Yeah.
It's where every great American genre came from.
So, thanks guys.
Yeah.
But they take all of these things. They do this version, kind of like a dream. It's like a Dreamland old school style version of Marshmello's Alone, which is probably my favorite song of theirs. And then they do Wake Me Up by Avicii, where they do it in mariachi style, and the girl actually sings it in Spanish. And she's a white girl. But they have a violinist with her, and she also sings it in Spanish. Again, they take all of this music and they change it into a completely different style. And for the most part, there's some that I'm just like, it's a good attempt.
Yeah.
I still appreciate it.
Yeah.
But more often than not, a lot of the times I'm like, man, I kind of actually prefer this version over the actual one. This is genuine.
Oh yeah,
good.
that's how I feel about Metalachi, because they did Guns N' Roses, and I am not a fan of Guns N' Roses. I heard it too much on the radio as a kid, where I'm just like, I'm sorry, I really don't like Sweet Child of Mine. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna be that guy.
I grew up listening to Guns N' Roses because of my dad, which is funny because, again, I'm Mexican. It's not necessarily a big thing in our culture to listen to Guns N' Roses, let alone other things. But so, like, for me, I was just like, wow, I feel special growing up. And then I was like, wow, a lot of people I know listen to this.
Yeah, no. Guns N' Roses is just like the most vanilla glam rock there is.
Also, I'm just going to mention them because I mentioned them before, but I love them unironically. I like Limp Bizkit.
Oh, yeah.
I would consider them in my top 5. And I don't know why. I just love listening to their music. I will acknowledge their music is not good.
Yeah.
Fred Durst did not deserve to get as famous as he did.
Yeah. Look, man, I have a lot of music in my library like that. Everything The Offspring made past the year 2000 is like that. Do
you remember when we were coming back from that retreat, and I was reading about Fred Durst's life?
Oh, yeah.
And I think he met Vladimir Putin, and they got drop-kicked by ICP.
Yeah.
They can make a story about his life, and I would watch it.
We're gonna link to the Fred Durst Wikipedia.
Yeah, just so you could see.
Just to read. It's good. It's good reads.
Ladies and gentlemen, like, the music is so bad. But man, did I not feel like a kid named Kyle if I listen to when I listen to that music. Like it's just fantastic, bro. Sometimes I listen to it while working, and my work ethic actually goes through the roof while I'm listening to Chocolate Starfish and Hot Dog Flavored Water, which I'm sure innuendos. I haven't looked them up.
You don't know what either of those are?
I don't, but I'm sure I think I do.
You can make a wild guess as to what Chocolate Starfish is.
Is it as bad as what I told you? I almost said it out. Almost as bad as the poison starfish.
Huh?
Did I tell you about the poison starfish?
You did not.
I can't say it.
This
here.
is an off the record discussion. Yeah, no, that is not at all what a chocolate starfish is. A chocolate starfish is literally. We're gonna get just a little description for the audience. You can look at it on a cat.
Okay, I understand now.
Yes, that is a chocolate starfish.
I understand now. That's what I thought it was going to be, or something similar to that, so I'm glad I get it. Anyways, enough about my trash bands.
I'm surprised you didn't... Beastie Boys isn't up there with you.
Are they considered...
Beastie Boys are 100% a band.
Okay, so the only reason I didn't include them is because I don't know if... Because I know they started as a punk band, technically, right?
Yeah.
So... I mean, like, by all technicalities, weren't
man,
hip-hop
I
first.
call any musical group a band, basically. Unless you're an orchestra, you're a band to me.
Okay, sorry, because I don't consider most hip-hop groups, like the Sugar Hill Gang, I don't consider
Sugar
them
Hill's
a band.
Gang is band.
Yeah, okay, so if we're going with that, then I would probably throw Sugar Hill and Beastie Boys in there, because they're both fantastic.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Beastie Boys is the most nonsensical hip-hop I've ever heard. And yet, they're fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I love them on all accounts.
They're absolutely incredible.
They don't care. Their music, for the most part, was good the whole way through. I think my favorite is still Intergalactic.
That is one of their greatest songs.
It is probably my favorite.
The album is probably the weakest for me. Like, I went through it and I'm like, man, Intergalactic, it came off this album, gotta be great. Listen to it, I'm like, oh, you guys only had one song on that album.
They invested all of their quality points into that one song.
But all of their other albums are pretty great.
Brass Monkey, 3 Mics and a DJ, Paul Revere.
I mean, just everything they do, man, is...
It's fantastic. The thing is, like, you know, I think you know that I used to write hip-hop when I was younger. Mm-hmm. Even though I don't sound like them in any way, shape, or form, they were actually one of my inspirations. It was Biggie Smalls, DMX, and freaking Limp Bizkit, and Beastie Boys. Those were like my 4 biggest inspirations, which is funny because when you listen to the stuff I write, doesn't even sound remotely tonally close.
That's one of my favorite things, is because I think I mentioned that, like, in my free time in high school, when I should have been doing coding in that class, and instead decided, I'll just take the F. I was on Wikipedia looking at band histories.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing to look at is the influence section, because you just read it, and...
How?
8 times out of 10, you're like, what on earth, where did you draw from in this? What album were you like, yes, this really reminds me of the Stones, man. Rolling Stones 100% inspired this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And you're like, yeah, man, the Beatles, all up. And I'm like, Offspring, nothing you produce sounds like the Beatles.
You can tell that Fred Durst was clearly inspired. I see every...
Fred Durst has expired.
I'm gonna feel really sad if this comes out and he dies. Like, he just dies like the day after. But
he dies because of the stroke you had.
Yeah, I think the more I invoke his name, I'm starting to have a stroke.
On his light force.
I'm having a stroke. I wasn't gonna say autistic because I can say stroke, so I've had 4. But I don't know what happened there. My brain thought about Fred.
Autistic. Did I tell you about the time? My autism story?
No. I think we're going to have to save that for another
No, it's short.
Okay.
So, I went to ask the doctor for to go see a dermatologist for something I was dealing with. And, they're like, oh yeah, we'll write you up for that. And in the mail, a couple days later, it's like, congratulations, Richard, you've been approved, da-da-da. And I'm like, reading through it, and I'm like, oh, wait. Congratulations, Richard. You've been approved for an autism specialist. And I'm like, hold up.
Wait a minute. Hold up.
I'm like, I did not talk to my doctor about autism. Is he trying to say something?
Richard, you're like a light shining through a prism. Because you're on the spectrum. If we ever get big, this is the one that's going to bring us down. I'm just letting you
What are you talking about? I got almost diagnosed, Vince.
Bro, it sounds like the Tumblr kids that have 14 different mental disabilities. It's all self-diagnosed.
Yeah. Mine was almost not self-diagnosed.
Yeah, actually, yeah. You're like, no, if I don't get it diagnosed, I don't have it.
Yeah, that's basically it. That's my mentality.
Okay, so we just became a dumpster fire right now. So why don't we go?
Just became, Vince.
Okay, the fire got bigger, but let's go to yours because I'm dying right now.
All right. For me, as I mentioned earlier, my favorite band of all time at the moment. We'll see how long they retain this title, but they will probably keep it for a while. We're losing it. This ship's going down real fast.
You invoked the name of Fred Durst earlier, and it finally hit you. It was just like, it's like one of the sleeping pills where it has like a delayed reaction.
Fred Durst just has this effect on people. Guys, be careful. Don't say his name. From this point on in the podcast, we're just going to call him He Who Should Not Be Named. Except instead of Voldemort, it's the lead singer of Limp Bizkit.
It's the lead singer of Limp Bizkit, who also worked with one of the guys from House of Pain, who actually is part of that band. I think it's hilarious because that will just be canon now in this podcast.
Yeah.
I didn't know that that He Who Shall Not Be Named could make a robot like me autistic, but that's great. Anyways, King Gizz.
So yeah, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Really trippy band, and I figured we'd just kind of do a small little deep dive into them. I do plan at some point soon, within the next 2 weeks or so, trying to upload an album analysis onto this channel. Because I wrote down this album analysis a couple years back for college radio, and they never posted it because the college radio was pretty disorganized.
It is college, yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to do an album analysis of one of my favorite albums of theirs, called I'm in Your Mind Fuzz.
I think I know that one.
It's the Green album.
This is the one that you have on your desktop?
Yes.
Okay, then that's where I know it from.
Yes.
I have yet to I think I've only listened to 2 albums so far.
I mean,
so I still need to listen to the rest.
As I mentioned earlier, they currently have 16 studio albums and an EP.
That's a lot of music.
These dudes are insane. First of all, it was 7 members, or it was 7 members. Now it's 6. Unfortunately, the second drummer,
the manager, right?
The manager of the band, he also did the record label that they were on. Like, he started it, ran it, and managed it. And so he basically left a month or 2 back from this point, as of this recording, to just kind of focus on the record label. And it's like, look, you're drumming, you're managing the band, and you're running a record label that has gotten to grow a lot more. The record label Flightless that they're on is way bigger than it was
when they first started it.
I mean, when they first started, it was literally a record label for them.
Yep.
And then it was a few bands, and then a few bands, and now it's, I think, upwards of, almost 20 bands and artists.
Wow.
So.
Well.
So I'm like, yeah, that probably takes a good bit of your time to manage that.
It's fair that he left when,
But yes, so their band consists of, on paper, although they all play all of the instruments and just swap around, basically, 3 guitarists, formerly 2 drummers, now 1 drummer, a bassist, and a harmonica/organ player.
Okay.
And that is the current loose listing of the band because they also mess around with all sorts of weird, interesting instruments. Like on KG, how I mentioned the Turkish house album, or song on the album, that uses an instrument called the clavinet, which I had no idea was a thing.
I have actually heard of the clavinet.
I had not, so you're one step ahead of me.
I mean, we had this weird time in choir class when I was in high school where we went through instruments. I have no idea. We went through like instruments for like a month, even though I'm like, we are a choir.
Yeah.
You know.
You gotta know what you're singing with, Vince. Come on.
Yeah, clearly, because high school bands can afford that. They don't even play them with each other. Like, let's be real. But yeah, it's that's the only reason I know it, because we were introduced in that class. But anyways, continue.
But so yeah, they all play weird instruments. Like on the Volume 1 microtonal for Flying Microtonal Banana, Stu McKenzie, who's basically the main ringleader. He's the main vocalist, lead guitarist. He brought out the Zurna, which is that weird, whiny Eastern microtonal instrument.
Okay.
It's a wind instrument.
Okay.
It kind of screams at you. Yeah.
It's not the one that they use on Honey, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because there's that. It's not.
Although they might have.
It's not screaming, but you know what sound I'm referring to on that song, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so they're a super trippy band, and they've been making, like I said, every year except 2018, at least one album a year. Most of the time, 2. And then in 2017, 5. Because these men, I don't know how, in between touring, they're just like, yeah, we need to write albums. And I think it's gotten to the point where they've gotten the audience to expect it.
Which is not necessarily a good thing.
No, because that's what it seems to talk about on the newest album, KG. It kind of, the last song, The Hungry Wolf of Fate, kind of sings about high expectations, in a sense. And that's what it kind of sounds like they're singing about in that album.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they started out doing garage rock, which is one of the easiest genres to make, because it's all lo-fi and you're just chugging along making some rhythmic borderline punk music.
Yep.
But you're not even playing fast enough for punk, and that's what garage rock is.
Okay.
That's what the EP in their first album is. Their second album, they decided, you know what, cowboys are cool, so then they made a Western audiobook.
That's the one you were telling me about.
That is my favorite album of theirs.
Yep.
Stu McKenzie is quoted as saying, "I liked evil guitars in Red Dead Redemption." And that's what he made as the album. They got one of the dude's dads to narrate it.
That's right, you were telling me about
that. But yeah, it's very much spaghetti Western music with an interesting story and narration. Then they go into their official third album, where they started to really grow as a band, and it's very psychedelic. And this is when the band really became known as a psychedelic band, and they're still by and large pretty psychedelic. But as a whole, you can really only call them a rock band.
Yeah.
After psychedelic, they went into slightly more psychedelic, but also with weirdo stuff thrown in. Then after that is when the album that I'm going to be doing an analysis on, I'm in Your Mind Fuzz, comes out. Because that album is the beginning of the Gizz verse. It's not a very strong beginning, but it's a teasing of it. Because the album basically just deals with mind control. And so one of the most famous things about King Gizzard is that, like Marvel, they have their own universe.
Yes.
But with weirdo things going on instead of superheroes.
Yeah.
So if you want to read into lyrics like You're a Madman, they're a great band for that. Because I have found one channel that has so many videos talking about it. And it's insane, because some songs, you look at them and you're like, wait, is this singing about something in the Gizz verse? Or is this just an actual song? Because on the new album KG, Honey, which is the acoustic song that came off of it, Stu said, yeah, I wrote this for my girlfriend a while ago. But then you look at the lyrics and I'm like, but those lyrics, it might mean something. They might.
What
they might
girlfriend?
Be. They might be
Only
deeper.
Gizzard.
They might be deeper than that.
What girlfriend? Only Gizzard.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, they've gone into acoustic, more psychedelic. They've gone into thrash metal. Their other album from that year was blues, but also weird blues because it delved into, I forget the name of the genre, but it's elevator music.
Isn't it Muzak?
Yeah, kind of.
I
Not
forget
quite
what the,
Muzak.
I know what there's an official name for it.
I forget it, but some dude talked about it in some analysis or whatever. I don't even know if I could find the analysis again to link to it. But yeah, they're such a unique band because of their high output, the fact that their albums have a story to them for the most part, that you're constantly wondering what they could even do next. Because it's like, wait, you started out psychedelic and then you went to thrash and then you did blues and then you did acoustic and you've done... What are you guys going to do? Because they have another one of their albums from 2017. They partnered with a band called Mild High Club. And it's just soft jazz.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're super, super trippy, super interesting. Their most famous album, Nonagon Infinity,
that's the one that I listened to.
9 songs where the first song flows into the next and into the next, and the last song flows back into the first. So it is an infinite album in essence.
Yes.
And that is their album where they got big, which is why Live in 16, the album that came out, is so unique because it was the last time they played in a small venue. Because after that, Nonagon Infinity got huge, and they as a band grew massive. But yeah, they're such an interesting band. And again, stay tuned for an analysis of sorts, because I'm going to be really deep diving, doing all of the mental gymnastics I can in discussing this album as much as humanly possible. But yeah, this band is so weird that people made an NES cartridge with their music on it, which I now own.
That's right. Didn't I play
No, you're thinking of the single that instead of making a music video, they made a music game.
That's right.
They made a Doom clone.
Yeah.
I am talking about the literal NES cartridge sitting next to me.
Yeah, okay.
Which
that's what I got it mixed
someone
up with.
programmed 8-bit versions of many of their albums onto.
Of course, that's super cool.
That I've never found a band as unique as this, and that's why I'm sure they're going to hold the title of my favorite band for a long while.
Yep.
Because for a while it was Linkin Park, then I kind of got bored with them, and then it was The Offspring for a while. And they had so much, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. And I kind of got a little bored of them, and then I found King Gizz, and I'm like, oh, this.
So how long have they been your favorite for?
Almost since when I found them, so that would have been about 2017. I found them right after they finished their album of their 5 albums that year. But that's why Gumboot Soup is called that, because they knew they were only going to write 4 albums and then toss the rest of the ideas into one other album. But they're also super chill dudes. I met Stu McKenzie and Eric, the former drummer manager, because there was a signing that I went to. Huh?
Did you take a picture with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the picture.
Yeah, no, I was telling them about the radio show I did in college and stuff, and like super chill. And they're like, "Oh yeah, man, we got to listen to it." And I'm like, "No, you don't."
Look.
But they were like super appreciative, and they were like genuinely interested in trying to make as much time as they could to talk to people in the line.
That's awesome.
Because it wasn't a huge group of people, but there were enough people there that there was a line and everything to see them.
Yeah.
But it was cool that they're like basically every single person they were trying to chat to. So they're pretty chill dudes. Disagree with them on other things, but you know.
Yeah.
I disagree with almost every musician on many things on a personal level.
Yes. Understandable. I mean, I do too.
Yeah. I am very adept at separating the art from the artist.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Unless their views are very heavily strewn in.
Yeah. Thankfully, King Gizzard, when you're singing about fantasy worlds that make no sense, you know, you don't get a whole lot of politics in there.
Yeah. Like Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
Granted, I still like listening to them.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know.
Some of their lyrics, I'm like, you're making me cry. Yeah. I will say, some of King Gizzard's albums are somewhat topical. They are very much pro-environment, which I'm like, yeah, all right.
That's fair.
That's fair. And then their newest album, KG, has a song that's very much about the YouTube algorithm and the power it possesses, as well as another song that deals about how garbage the media is, and, you know, fake news and all that fun nonsense of news and media and all that they sing about. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm surprised you guys don't align with me politically for what you're singing about.
You're so close.
You're so close. But, yeah, we have almost gone on for 50 minutes, which means I can bet you that this part of the podcast is going to sound gross and crackly.
Yes.
As it always does.
Always does.
But I'm glad, because this episode we don't have to end it on a note of, man, I'm disappointed in the comedy we're making.
Yeah, they were disappointed from the beginning.
Yes, we started out from that point.
We started out really strong and just kept it consistently, but not in the way we should have.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, we've gone on and prattled long enough about our music and all that interesting nonsense. So, we will catch you next week with another episode of the VR Shiz Show.
Yeah, and actually, I think for media consumed, if you want, I can talk about what we watched today.
This is true. I forgot that, and I mean, we probably could have honestly talked about it today.
I know, but, you know.
I'm glad that we just now remembered what we did like an hour prior to the show.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all for joining us, and be sure to stick around till next time. Bye.
Bye.